Hey there, good people of the YTPC. It's Harriet Herfer. Today I'm going to be reading from a chapter in a book, and I'm going to explain it just a little bit. I know a lot of you have heard of Danny Shore, but I do have some new subscribers and that may not be aware. So, Danny Shore is a gentleman who has been a longtime presenter here on the YTPC. He has sent out a lot of yabos, been very helpful to new pipe smokers. He's watched a lot of videos of ours, and sometimes he comments and sometimes he doesn't, although he usually is watching, so be good. He's like Santa Claus. And he has been fighting brain cancer for quite some time. He's been going through a lot of treatments, and because of the progression of his disease, he has not been able to read like he was used to. So he had started a project on his channel where he was reading from a book called The Pipe, and he got through, I think, 9 chapters. He was reading them one chapter at a time, and he is not able to finish the task that he set forth for himself because he wanted to finish the book, obviously. So Sue Dunhill, being a good friend of his that she is, thought it was a really good idea if pipe smokers here on the YTPC would offer to take a chapter and read it to help Danny complete his task. So I'm going to be reading from chapter 10 today. And if any of you are interested in reading a chapter from this book, I'm going to leave my email address in the bucket, and you can just send me an email with your address and I will send you a chapter of the book, because I have a little stack of them here that need to go out. So I have the next 2 chapters taken care of, but after that I still have some more that I would like to send out. So if you're willing to help, please do so. Let's help Danny get this done. Just to show you how nice Danny is, I had bought one of the pipes that Sue was selling for Danny, and in the box was a pipe that he just added just because. So I thought it was appropriate for me to smoke that today. And I'm just smoking because of Pipes and Spirit Art. It's his favorite tobacco, and Hugh and I smoke in the house in the winter time. We only smoke aromatics, so I'm trying different aromatics that I hadn't tried before. Very good art. So I'm going to put my pipe down, and I'm going to get to this. I'm going to probably start and stop a little bit. I am at home and the dogs are here and there's going to be a lot of noise and all that, so I'll do the best job I can, so bear with me. So here we go. Like I said, chapter 10 from the book The Pipe. This book was originally, keep in mind, written in 1954 and 1955. The book that this was copied from is from 1973, and it's written by George Hermit. And this chapter is called Anti-Nicotine Contraptions. The various systems and devices for removing or preventing the accumulation of nicotine in the pipe have assumed such importance, and pipe makers have worked the subject up into such an abuse in seeking to sell their makes of pipes that it will be far from useless to devote a section to this question. In former times, the problem was not appreciated, or was it solved naturally by the use of water, as in the narghile on page 16. I don't have page 16, or I'd show you a picture. Let it be stated at once that the various systems now employed belong rather to the realm of advertising and publicity than to that of the pipe and pipe smoking. The picture of an enlarged pipe shown in section depicting the working of one of these most complicated systems in much the same style as an anatomical diagram is well calculated to induce the novice to imagine that he has at last discovered how to smoke without injuring his health. Pipes with a filter or some porous matter at the bottom of the bowl have had and still have their vogue. But notwithstanding their scientific appearance, we ought not be carried away by such a fallacious publicity, too often reminiscent of a huckster in the marketplace of a Saturday night. The classic procedure of the quack doctor is familiar enough to make out that the ailment is worse than it is, so that the cure shall appear all the more marvelous. Let us smoke our pipes by all means, but let us not be tricked by such nonsense. Tobacco was formerly considered a drug. More than 100 weighty treatises and books were written denouncing it. On its introduction into France, A police ordinance prohibited its use except by apothecaries on pain of a fine of 80 Paris francs or some 35 shilling of English money. In those days, a considerable sum. Louis XIII dealt it a hard blow, and Urban VIII went so far as to excommunicate all who used it. 3 monks, we are told, who were taken in the act of smoking were arraigned and executed. In Asia Minor, the Sultan Achmet IV decreed that all smokers should have their noses and ears cut off, and the edict was put into force. His example was followed by the Tsar Michael of Russia and the King of Prussia. Even later, toward the close of the 18th century, the Vienna police had orders to fire on anyone seen smoking, whether it be a pipe or a cigarette. Danger of fire was the pretext usually invoked for these stringent measures. It reminds us of the rules against the nose warmer, as already cited on page 48. And you'll have to go look at one of Danny's readings of the chapter for page 48. These measures, which seem to us decidedly drastic, were less so in those earlier times, for smoking had become the habit to an astounding degree and was actually a public scandal, priests even approaching the altar to say Mass, pipe in mouth. Urban VIII authorized beadles in churches to confiscate tobacco boxes, though it should not be assumed that this was in any way related to the fact that they were usually made of gold or silver. When the state showed its claws in France and declared a monopoly of tobacco, the question of the stuff being a poison or a drug or a stupefacient was relegated to the background, and no more was heard of it. With his innate logic, the French taxpayer is forced to conclude that all those noxious elements that were once so inimical to public health have not only lost their danger, but have become actually beneficial now that the smoker has become a profitable concern to the exchequer. Opium and cocaine now occupy the evil place once filled by tobacco in the early 17th century. But we are speaking of France and French history, for a tobacco monopoly has never been established in Britain. Since the privilege of making and selling tobacco was taken over by the state in 1674, any writing against the habit of smoking has been considered a lapse of taste. We must, however, remain logical at all costs, though still taxpayers, and take it that the campaign against opium and cocaine is, historically speaking, just as baseless as that ancient one against tobacco. It will be enough for the state, always the philanthropist, to take over a monopoly of narcotics for us to find posters at every street corner advocating their use and lauding to the skies one or other of their natures, and all for the common good. To return to our systems, we do not deny the utility of anti-nicotine methods, nor their value, nor even their efficiency. It is not our task to settle such problems. The use, not the abuse, of tobacco is not harmful. How many persons have we not known who, accustomed to smoking a dozen cigarettes a day, got it into their heads that it was ruining their health and took to denicotinized cigarettes and smoked double the number? Beyond the fact that the suppression of the alkaloid, in the case of cigarettes, robs the burning tobacco of its aroma, these persons have affected the medical aspect of the case not one whit. They have worked themselves into a state of nervousness for no purpose, and have been robbed of much pleasure, for the source of the aroma lies in the camphor or nicotine in the tobacco. Without this nicotine, the stuff is no better than hay. If a smoker does not spit, says Dr. Joly, his stomach absorbs a considerable quantity of nicotine and ammonia. So be it, on the other hand, if he does not spit, he loses the ferments contained in tobacco, ferments that are a direct aid to digestion. All this goes to prove the futility of meddling with the natural course of smoking. It is far better for the smoker to adopt a regime suited to his needs and capacity. The better one knows oneself, the better one's state of health. All gadgets, generally made of aluminum on account of its lightness, are a useless and perverse luxury. They only serve to spoil smoking, to make the pipe grumble, to obstruct the channel of the stem, and thereby produce a host of other troubles by preventing the wooden portion of the stem from fulfilling its proper function. What we call the foot of the pipe, although actually belonging neither to the bowl nor the stem, performs a capital function in the chemistry of combustion. It is that part of the pipe where the lowest portion of the tobacco is most moist and where the smoke, being drawn in, makes a curve in its progress to the mouth. Thus A and B both act as a filter or even regulator. To add a metal part to this is to nullify, or at any rate to spoil this effect. Anti-nicotine pipes give an aftertaste of stale nicotine that no true smoker can mistake. Indeed, they can be spotted by the smell alone. What is to be said, then, of the taste of bubbling nicotine, the disgusting stench of which but serves to emphasize the fact that no pipe ought ever be smoked after it has gone hot? It is this smell that has always set us against the so-called Alsatian pipes, particularly those confected with a whole battery of aluminum anti-nicotine gadgets. The naturally healthy, light aroma of the tobacco cannot get through. It is completely and utterly poisoned. This goes to prove that excessive filtering is not only undesirable but ruinous to the taste. This appears to be the moment to define as clearly as possible what smokers mean by the word taste. When one speaks of the taste of a pipe, what is meant is the taste of the smoke released from the burning tobacco and rising from the bowl, rather than that of the smoke which passes through the stem and mouthpiece. The word smell would not be comprehensive enough to describe it, for here an analysis must be made. There is a difference between the papillae of taste and those of smell, all of which depend upon the mucous membrane, the sensitivities of which interpenetrate to form a totality of impressions which can be designated by the word taste. When we say that a pipe is sweet, but that does not smell nice, it means that the taste is not good. There are some days when a pipe is particularly enjoyable because it draws well and the smoke is delicious. This really depends, in turn, on the general state of the smoker's health. For example, a cold in the head is bad for conducting the odoriferous properties in the smoke. In case of serious illness, the organism cannot tolerate tobacco. The nasal and olfactory mucous membranes play a large part in the sensory faculties of the smoker. They form the seat of the taste and, in some degree, act the part of an anti-nicotine filter. It is not, therefore, the mouthpiece alone that takes part in the act of smoking, it is the entire organism. We thus arrive at the conclusion that a pipe having none of these systems and gadgets, but which is cleaned often and carefully, will eliminate just as much nicotine as needed without harming the health of the smoker or depriving him of the pleasure he enjoys in smoking. But little experience of pipe smoking is sufficient to expose the futility of such engines. Indeed, one would imagine that some of them were designed for a purpose quite other than smoking tobacco. These affairs may be useful for scraping out the pipe, but the first thing to do when buying a pipe fitted with such gadgets is to take them all out, always supposing them to be removable, which is not always the case. It is really a remarkable thing that craftsmen and manufacturers seem to have found in the various parts of so simple an object as the pipe an apparently limitless field for their ingenuity. Patent medicine quacks and charlatans in general have nothing on them, as the saying is in this connection. As the meerschaum has had portions of a briar added to it, and the briar has been dressed up with bits of copper, so someone has invented, or alleged has invented, a hydraulic or water pipe, a gas retort, a condenser pipe, a refrigerator pipe, and heaven knows what else. A pipe on the principle of the pump was followed by one devised on the siphon system. The varieties of pipe filters with cotton wool tubes and anti-nicotine pads are beyond reckoning. Tobacco smoke has been passed through all sorts of substances with filtering or anti-nicotine properties, charcoal, asbestos, and the like, sometimes introduced into the bowl, sometimes in the stem or mouthpiece. Mineral and vegetable substances alike have been called into use. One thing is certain: when the products of combustion are separated and collected in these ways, they are poisonous, more poisonous than when in their normal condition. Doing violence to nature rebounds in violence to oneself. Nature does not sell her goods, she bestows them, and is quite indifferent as to what use we make of them. Man should learn to enjoy and use them, not to abuse them. We have written at some length about systems of denicotinization in order to get rid of the subject once and for all. They have nothing to do with the pipe. Only the water filter on the principle of the Nargile appears to us as being efficient and worthy of consideration. Unfortunately, is not easily transportable as seen in this drawing. I'll show you the drawing. And I don't know, I carry a lot of stuff with me in my bag, so I could probably carry one of those. I'm just saying. The best pipe manufacturers have adopted various very simple measures whereby their pipes may be easily cleaned and the smoke more or less filtered. But once again, a word of warning must be given, for the introduction of the end of the ebonite mouthpiece into the delicate, fragile wood of the stem makes breaking very easily. The bowl and the stem and mouthpiece are not really adapted to one another. Some sort of binding tape or the like outside the stem is what is really needed. In the choice of a pipe, and a careful inspection of this joint should be made. It is even advisable during the first few smokes not to push the ebonite firmly into the wood stem, lest the heating of one or both may distort the pipe. Let us away with all anti-nicotine pipe devices. By their very name, they stand self-condemned. It is a concession even to introduce such an uncongenial substance as ebonite into the wood. Nature and manufacture do not go well together. And that is the end of chapter 10. And at the end here, because I'm pretty sure Danny is watching these, I just wanted to say to you, sir, that everything that you have done and will do on the YTPC here has made a difference to a lot of people. The reason so many people have kind of rallied around you in their own little way, one way by doing this, is because you have set an example, sir. And you set a very fine example. And so I just wanted to raise this pipe to you, say thank you for this pipe, and for the opportunity to help finish the project that you started here. I love you very much. I hope you're doing well today, and I will talk at you later, sir. Oh, later's taters. So I get up for making this video, guys. Just a little addition. I hear my mailman. And what do I get but a Christmas card from Danny? You're awesome, dude. Thank you very much. Love you, Danny.